Vegas for a couple of days to take advantage of the time that I had and some of the decent price things that you can still kind of do out here in Vegas. And I decided to take this for a spin. This is the 2017 488 Spyder. They recommended a couple of amazing roads out here as well. One of them being Valley of Fire, which I got to drive for the first time in my life yesterday, and it is absolutely one of the most beautiful roads that I've ever been on. So starting off here in the front, we have lights that are very similar to this car's predecessor, which is the 458 Italia. This being the 488 Spyder. Spyder, obviously, Ferrari has kept that nomenclature with most, if not all, of their convertibles. We have a beautiful kind of classic red Ferrari paint. You have some very interesting carbon fiber accents on this pillar here and on this intake here. You have these functional air vents that feed that well, not actually humongous, but this 4.2 liter twin turbo V8 engine that Ferrari has on this car that it's been using actually since the California, but this is a revamped, more performance oriented version of that engine with a lot more lighter weight parts. The connecting rods they changed using a whole bunch of different lightweight materials for the internals that they swapped out on this car. So aesthetically, this car is absolutely beautiful from basically all angles. The front here, like I said, you have some 458-ish headlights. They kind of also reminisce the LaFerrari, how they kind of start here and go up on the side with these individual LEDs coming down to one solid headlight. The front fascia also has these grills in here that are all functional. There's no fake stuff here. There's no grills that aren't grills. Everything is functional on this car, as it should be, for a whopping price of $350,000. What do you get with $350,000 in a convertible Ferrari? You have carbon ceramic brakes on all four corners, which squeak like crazy when you're around town, especially if they aren't heated up, and especially if you've been kind of using the car and driving a little bit spiritedly, I'll say. A lot of brake dust is created, and they squeak like absolute madmen, like a bus, like it's really, I would argue that it'll be hard to live with. Extremely wide track, wide front end, but it creates an absolutely amazing view in the cabin where the front end just kind of slopes down and you can see everything perfectly outside the windshield. This car does have tinted windows on both sides, so it's kind of, it definitely stays a little bit cooler than it would on average. Coming around the side, we have these awesome integrated side markers. Ferrari does their best at making them a little bit artistic with that ovalish look. We have the absolutely beautiful Ferrari logo here, classic yellow. Coming around to the side, you have these aerodynamic looking mirrors, and the angle of this car is just beautiful with that side intake feeding the twin turbocharged V8. This engine, as we're going to see here, pop, push the lid, push it up, stays up on its own. This engine, like I said, that Ferrari has been making since the California T, is an upgraded version of that original motor that they've just been massaging out to near perfection. I mean, this car makes 660-ish, around there, horsepower to the crank and 560 foot-pounds of torque at the crank. So that creates an absolutely amazing, immense driving experience. I was out yesterday really enjoying this car. All angles, man, it just looks beautiful. Coming around back, like I said, you have this carbon fiber fin here, which is an option. So is this. These can be painted body color if chosen, but this owner decided not to do that. You have the classic Ferrari circular taillights here and this absolutely massive rear diffuser. Also have these really awesome non-polished exhaust tips, and the exhaust on this car just sounds absolutely amazing to be a stock Ferrari that you can just take from the factory and just immediately sounds good. I know they do make titanium exhausts for this car, but you're just kind of asking for it at that point, driving a red Ferrari and it being that loud, because the car is already decently loud, at least depending on what modes you're driving in. Let's close this and give you guys a little bit of a preview of the inside of the car. So, starting with the door. You have your driver handle here. When I first got into this car, I was reaching for the window button, but that's elsewhere in this car. You have your frunk button and you have your gas tank button. Here is the mirror adjustment for the car. Everything is extremely easy to use in this car. I wouldn't say it's the most intuitive. Buttons give some positive feedback. So hopping in, we have your cockpit. So with this key here, there's not really much you can do as far as placement, but they did have a nice little area for you right here, and you can actually take this out for extra storage, but you can just place your key here while you're driving, and that kind of gets the job done for you. Starting with the left side, I know it's going to be kind of a lot here that we're going to go over, but starting with the left side, you have this really awesome carbon fiber layout here. You have it here as well that kind of carries out from the theme of the outside of the car. You have it all over the steering wheel here. The bottom kind of comes to a flat bottom race wheel type shape. And then you have your carbon fiber trim up here with your LED lights that flash red as you're approaching that absolutely beautiful 8,000 RPM red line. And the car is in race mode. The mode selector is here. This technology is derived from F1, where everything that you can possibly need on the car is on the steering wheel, including your windshield wiper, your mode selector, your turn signals, which you click. As you can see, this one comes on, and push to cancel. Click this one, push to cancel. I was using this to try and honk earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. We have the horns here, the turn signals here like I went over, your light switches here for your brights. This is suspension. It's set on bumpy road right now. Obviously, engine stop start button, mode selector, which includes race, sport, traction control off, ESC off, and wet modes. You have your paddle shifters. This car includes a 7-speed dual clutch transmission that shifts ridiculously fast. I think it's something in the 100 millisecond categories. By the time your brain processes the shifts, it's already been over with, basically. So left side down, right side is up. These are steering column mounted carbon fiber ones. Down here, your headlights. Very simple switch to operate here. Really quickly, very minimal storage in this car. You have these back nets here for storage behind these seats, where you can store maybe a water bottle and a small tiny bag. You have this in the middle here that you can put your phone in your wallet and a USB to charge it. And then you have a little cubby here where you can, I don't know, maybe put a couple of phones if you really had to, but very, very minimal storage. Underneath here you have a little bit where this is cut out for your gear selector and your reverse. Your fully leathered out glove box with deep storage, actually. This is probably the biggest place in the car, aside from the frunk up front, that you can put stuff in. The information that you guys are getting with this car is just, it's really, really interesting. Starting with the left side of the gauge cluster, let's go into what can be seen here. Your gas tank here is always shown, and then your mileage here is always shown. You can switch between miles per hour, your PSI, and your volts for your battery, and then, you know, water and oil temperature. So moving on, you have your trip status. It gives you the date, the maximum speed, travel distance and range. Going to the VDA, vehicle dynamics, basically. A couple of things that it tells you in your vehicle dynamic mode, what the settings are of different electronic attributes for this car. And then you have your turbo, where you can see what the PSI, the current PSI is, the responsiveness is, and the efficiency is, going back. You then have your settings, where you can do the dimming, display, hour, language, measurement units, car settings, service, calibration, TPMS sensors. You also have a pit button that you can select, which will set your pit speed to higher load so that you don't get any disqualifications. Then you can just quickly push these buttons to select them if you wanted to see the settings immediately. and then back. But normal people, or the average person who's going to be daily driving this car, I believe, would just be selecting obviously the miles per hour. It's kind of helpful to know how fast you're moving when you're in a 600 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque Ferrari that's twin turbocharged and has a V8. So the main focus of this car is racing purely. You have this light bar here that lights up red LEDs, extremely bright as you're approaching that 8K RPM red line. And your tachometer is the focus here. Here you have your controls. You have your on and off switch here for the media, and you can toggle between modes here with this. You can either turn the knob or you can just press it and it'll move, it'll jump. This is kind of your entertainment, or your iPod, your Bluetooth. It can also be a navigation screen as well as radio, your media, your navigation, which is really awesome. It kind of pops up. You can show the map here and it'll show you exactly where you are. Super multifunctional, can switch between things. Everything has a really great feel to it in this car. Your phone, once again, your setup or settings. Moving down here, we have your camera modes for your rear camera, and then this is where your climate control is. Super easy to use controls. Switch the knobs, great positive feedback. More carbon fiber, absolutely beautiful. Same with this center selector here that is kind of hovering, which is really awesome. This is your reverse button. Actually, you push this to put the car in reverse. This is to switch between automatic and manual modes.
This button here, the PS button, stands for Partenza Sportiva, aka Sport Departure in English, and is basically just a launch control button.
This is your hazard light. These are your window switches. This is for your back window, so if I push this, window rolls down so you can hear the car better. Really awesome stuff. And you just roll it back up if you want it to be a little bit quieter. This is for the convertible hardtop, as I'm going to demonstrate right now.
From start to finish, the actual process from the hardtop being down to completely up only takes around 13 seconds. You can also move around, although at only around 20 miles per hour while this operation is taking place.
Top is now down. I did forget to mention that this car does have a front vehicle lift. Let's see if I can get that there. And it, if you're just in a parking lot and there's some speed bumps around, you might need to press this to lift the car up to make sure that the front does not scratch anywhere.
Alright guys, time for a little bit of driving. This is the 488 here in the Valley of Fire in Nevada, which is one of the most beautiful driving roads and national parks that I've ever been to. The park is Nevada's oldest, being established in 1935 and covers over 40,000 acres. 488 Spyder seemed to truly be at home here in Nevada's Valley of Fire. With its natural curving canyon roads, it was a day that I'll never forget. In the 488, there really is no lack of torque anywhere. You just simply squeeze on the throttle from any gear, and you get to going pretty quickly. 488 Spyder accelerates to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds flat, on its way to a quarter-mile time of 10.9 seconds at 139 miles per hour. And if you don't want to stop there, you can take it up to its top speed, which is 202 miles per hour.
So, sitting here now on the 488, I'm going to give you guys a bit of driving impressions and the experience that you can kind of get and understand. I'll do my best to translate that, but once again, the car's exhaust note and the experience can never truly really be translated, especially with the limitations of microphones. And the one that I have now using my camera mic will give you guys an idea of just how ridiculous this car can be. Just using in manual mode, just shifting extremely fast. So first impressions are this car is extremely smooth to drive. Having a $350,000 price tag can be a little bit intimidating if you think about it, especially with the name Ferrari attached to it. But anyone can kind of hop in this and go for a spin, and it won't be anything too new or too crazy or too intimidating until you get into the throttle a bit and you start to feel the turbos kick in really, really low. I think it's around 2,000 or 3,000 RPM all the way up to 8,000 where it makes its power, and it's really, really amazing how it comes on. Just the mid-range and low-end torque that's able to be pushed into this car, and the forces that you get, it's really tremendous. And it sounds absolutely amazing. Maybe better than the 458. Very little turbo noise, mostly exhaust noise with that V8, but man, it is quite the experience at the end of the day. Ceramic squeaking already, absolutely amazing brakes though. Okay, I think we might have a little bit of free room to get it going. Jesus. Once those tires hook up, very similar to a rocket ship airplane taking off experience. I mean, it just pulls so hard from all over the rev range, starting low down, and it just doesn't seem to stop. And it's just that roller coaster sensation of getting shoved back into your seat. And then when you have to stop, you have your carbon ceramics that just make ease of everything. Really tremendous driving experience. That's short shifting at around 5,500 RPMs. I mean, not really even into the high top end RPMs at that point. It's just amazing how rapid these cars are, and how this can basically outperform a Ferrari Enzo, which was, at the time, $1 million supercar that Ferrari had produced. And these are being not mass produced, of course, but still with a $350,000 price tag, they're much more attainable than a $1 million Enzo would be.
It actually started approaching over 100 degrees this day in Nevada, so I had to put the top up.
It's ridiculous. Getting wheel spin in third gear at 70 miles per hour is never a super confidence-inspiring thing, but man, can this car move. Now we can make a U-turn. Speaking of turning and U-turns, this car's steering is really tremendous. It's really a point-and-shoot situation where as soon as you think about turning the car, it just goes exactly where you want it to go. Very little body roll, especially for a Spyder here too. I mean, it's just point and shoot. Extraordinarily sharp turning, but at low speeds, when you're trying to kind of maneuver in driveways and stuff and maybe make a U-turn to go do something, the turning radius is atrocious for the most part, but it makes up for it in the immediacy that it has when you're just using it on a regular basis. It really is tremendous. As soon as you want to disappear, you just kind of squeeze into it, and it's so rapid, so rapid. It's amazing, it really is. Is it worth $350,000? I don't think so. I think your money could be spent. I'm going to roll these windows up a little bit, but I think that your money could be spent better elsewhere for the price. Used, if this was, 200, 250 maybe it might be worth it. At this price point of over $300,000, you're buying a brand name, of course, with it being Ferrari, as you guys know. It doesn't really get much more world recognized than that. You're buying a name brand, you're buying premium parts, you're buying premium leather. If you have a Ferrari, people kind of respect that and know that, and like I said, it's a worldwide recognized brand, and you can't really go wrong with any other products, but they do come at a premium. I don't think that it's worth the price. Personally, $350,000 for this. You do get a lot for the car. If you do want to go maybe take it out for a day and you have a lot of freeway or highway driving in between, these seats are actually extremely comfortable. The ride can be really, really supple if it's not in race mode and it's not like banging you in the back to go forward on every single shift. It can kind of cruise really comfortably at 75, 80 miles an hour on the freeway, and the exhaust has flaps where it opens and closes, and it's a quiet, supple, simple, smooth ride. If you're just kind of taking it, Vegas to LA would be kind of a perfect situation there. We have a few hour drive. The car is just so comfortable. It can be a daily driven kind of grand touring type of situation if you chose to make it that. It's not purpose built like kind of singularly focused like a GT3 RS is, where you can't really enjoy it unless you're at the track or unless you're at 9/10 of the car at all times. This you can kind of put around town with on a daily basis if you chose to do that. Obviously the car would depreciate like crazy because of the mileage you'd be putting on it, but it's still very possible very realistically possible with this car because of the comfort that it provides as well as the performance that it provides. This road is terrible, but it's still not tremendously uncomfortable to ride on. No more than almost anything else would be, any normal car would be. Yeah, it's a little bit more harsh. You can feel a little bit more road, but that gets traded off with kind of what you're getting at the end of the day. So, just some quick closing thoughts, my conclusion on the car. Is it worth $350,000? I don't think so. I would wait for these to drop on the used market to go down if you guys absolutely had to have one of these. Overall, car is absolutely amazing. Makes a sound like no other car experience that you can really get now, and that's what you're buying with $350,000. You're not just buying a car, you are buying an experience. People turn their heads when they see this. It sounds amazing, like I said. I can't stress how good this car sounds and how this microphone does it zero justice. There's a feel and vibration that you get.
What?
When you're revving it, when you're shifting it, there's noises and crackles and vibrations and thumps. It's just an experience. It's a sensory experience. You're hearing things, you're feeling things, you're experiencing the speed of the car. It's absolutely tremendous. It really, really is. Once again, not worth $350. It's up there, but with that price, you are truly buying an experience, much more than just a car.
You can barely see him. Oh, you can kind of see him. There's one. Oh, wow.
That's crazy, man.